When I was growing up, being an otaku with a passion for manga and anime was not considered normal. Perhaps that's why there was a desire to become a normal person. There are scenes related to this in Look Back. In contrast to Tokyo, where diverse groups exist, rural areas typically have only one dominant group, leading to a strong peer pressure among people your age. I was often asked why I was still drawing. Thoughts like Denji's desire to become a normal person might stem from the feeling of being in a group but not being part of it. Look Back is the anime adaptation of the one-shot of the same name, following two teenage girls with a desire to become mangakas. Following Fujimoto and Fujimoto, we explore a lot of the themes and struggles behind becoming an artist. The story comes from the famed mangaka Tatsuki Fujimoto with his work on Chainsaw Man and Fire Punch, and other one-shots like Goodbye Eerie. Look Back's themes can all be summed up quite easily with
もっと上上手くなりたいもん
Look Back is a story that I think all artists need to see. In this video, I hope I can paint a clear enough picture to you as to why that is. The film starts off with Fujino drawing manga panel strips for the elementary school she attends. The 4-panel strip can come across as a little crude, is filled with art and animation that is actually quite clever. As the Twitter user Cloudy puts it, it's the perfect learn the rules before you break them type of sequence. The comic strip follows a couple that unfortunately get into a crash. While looking at the design and color work, it looks to be done by someone in primary school. Yet the techniques used to elevate the work to display the techniques of someone is actually quite talented. When compared to the strip, it's a little laughable, yet it conveys perfectly the story and tone Fujino was trying to tell. All this to say within the first few minutes, the character work for Fujino was done so well. This showcases her humor and her artistry. It has that whimsical nature to it. It's actually quite comical. It makes people in her class laugh, and the admiration she gets very clearly fills her need for validation. At this point, it's clear she doesn't want to be a mangaka, offering the idea of going into athletics instead. Her arrogance is really on full display here as she proclaims that this did not take much effort at all to do. Issues arise, however, when Fujimoto, a student who doesn't come to school and takes a spot next to hers in the school paper, with her detailed backgrounds that blew the minds of everyone in the class, leaving most people to be bewildered. Side by side, we see the manga strips. The contrast leaves Fujino stunned. Someone she had questioned about even meeting a deadline has, in her eyes and many people's eyes, made her to seem to be an amateur. It's the response from the class that hits though, especially the boy next to her. This disregarding of art is a reoccurring theme. Artists put their souls into their work, and the response is rather emotionless here. It's mid. He or she is washed. Their old work is better. Where did this version of them go? These are honestly things most successful artists must face, and until you begin to make something, you just don't realize the effect this can have on someone. I did though love seeing how this incident fired her up. The reason she is so good is because she gets to stay at home all day and draw. It's giving excuses, but I know even for myself, I have those inner thoughts. If only I could stay home, edit and write all day, then I'll be better than any other YouTuber in my space. That bit of ego you have, it can be fragile. How you act upon it is an entirely different story. It's not inherently wrong to think or feel this way. Fujino's run is absolutely stellar. The amount of emotion the characters are able to express, it's just next level. The montage of her just practicing and practicing for 2 years is beautiful but also quite sad, utilizing the position of her sitting center of frame to illustrate the passage of time, of friends she has to blow off, or test scores that she's just tests poorly on, or family time she misses out on. Sometimes being an artist means sacrificing so much time, and for what? To be met with, man, Fujimoto has a quote that is directly tied to this idea. One night I got up and went to the living room, and I overheard my parents talking. They said, if Tatsuki continues like this, he might not find a normal job and become a NEET. should we help him? And now he is one of the most popular authors on the planet. And culture in Japan is very different than it is here in the West, but the feeling of judgment still persists. For me, it's this channel. I feel embarrassed to say that I spend dozens and dozens of hours each week, upwards of 50 or so, just writing and editing. It's the only thing I can think about, day and night, since I was in early high school. Before I even knew what editing was, the process of filmmaking and videos was always something that I loved. And as high school went on and my other art friends began to hide their artistic side to fit in more, I didn't. I would edit in the homeroom on my little Lenovo laptop, and while people were nice to my face most times, I imagine behind closed doors, I got a sense of, why is Charles weird? Why is Charles still working on them? That is why I started the video with a quote around being normal. I am not neurotypical, and a lot of what I just do is weird, or can be brushed off as off-putting. YouTube is my escape, where I can allow myself to hyperfixate on things and speak for extended periods of time. Fujimoto talking about his upbringing and how he didn't fit in whilst being a teenager rang true to me, and it's evident in Look Back just how he illustrates these points. I think a lot of aspiring artists can resonate with these ideas. Those numbers can validate the amount of work you put in, and without those numbers, you can get embarrassed to even say that you worked on it. It's not to say that I need attention or need this success. Like I do, but I feel it's more complicated than that. Yet with the videos back then, yeah, they were shit. Rainbow Six Siege videos or Uno Let's Play, they aren't things to be proud of, I know. Nonetheless, it's vital to my journey as an artist to have gone through that phase to make what I'm making now. And I don't know, who is to say that the stuff I make now is much better, honestly? I watch things and I want to talk about it, so I spend all weekend in my office just writing. With this lifestyle choice comes the inevitable, if you have time, would you want to come out? And in my video on Freerun, I said I wanted to make a conservative effort to make more time for people, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I'm doing a good job. If anything, I'm probably doing a little worse than I was back then. This is why this scene resonates with me, because
藤野ちゃん、私たちと全然遊んでくれなくなっちゃったし、一緒にいても絵ばっかで話さなくなったし。
The reaction she has later to her art is honestly devastating, and one that even lately I connect with. Even after all the extra practice, the
やめた
struck something within me. I will stay up day and night, blow off friends' events and gatherings to make sure I hit my self-imposed deadlines. Jujutsu Kaisen just ended. I need to work around the clock to get this out, and okay, it performed alright. I thought it would do much better, but okay, cool. I've got a 30-minute Rick and Morty ranking video coming out, and CJ has done an amazing job editing this. I spent months and months on the script, rewatching the entire show, categorizing each episode on an Excel spreadsheet, and it's a lot worse. Hell, it might just be one of my worst performing videos ever, nearly. The next one is 40 minutes, and honestly, while there are some rough parts around the edges, this is great. This is it's my worst performing video in 5 to 6 years. So yeah. Thoughts of giving up crosses my mind a lot. Fujino is asked to drop off the diploma for Kiyomoto. In doing so, she gets to see the state of her home, finding a blank manga strip, in which she draws a horribly mean set of panels. One thing leads to another, and Kiyomoto sees this and rushes out to the street to meet Fujino. The POV shot transitioning, bursting through the door, is breathtaking. The theme of doors is a reoccurring one in Fujimoto's stories, playing a part in Chainsaw Man's anime and now here. He often plays with the idea that doors are what we lock away our emotions behind, or parts of ourselves that we don't want to address, secrets we don't want to acknowledge. Another meaning is that it's breaking through a very important moment. Kiyomoto's emphasis here is where the story changes. It is the climax of the first act. It being drawn that she steps into the light is not some accident by the animation team. This recluse leaps at this opportunity to the point that it's almost like an instinctual thing that she had to do and it can't explain why. She then goes back into her shell and becomes a mess even trying to construct a full sentence. The back and forth here is beyond cute. I just love these two and everything they represent. They feel very much like two sides to Fujimoto put onto the screen. Two halves of his artistic struggles, fighting each other. Kiyomoto is just a mess, but in a way that's so likable. It feels so Fujimoto-like that only people who know Chainsaw Man can understand. Kiyomoto, being her superfan, was sure something. Fujino goes from jealousy to listening to this girl's tirade about her manga being so outstanding she couldn't even keep up herself. It gives a perspective that even when you're critical of your own work or abilities, others may see it differently. Later, Kiyomoto goes to college, which I will get to, but as a comment on Fujino, I relate to her that neither did I. I didn't attend college or a uni. I also have a disdain for degrees in arts because a degree doesn't get you into any doors. 60,000 on a piece of paper, and for what? To do what? But then when I write on here to you guys, what credibility do I have? I have no special insights or knowledge that you don't have. I made a 70-minute video on Attack on Titan that did kinda well, but it's not written well. I don't cite anything or any books in my videos. I don't have some larger thesis that I base my opinions around. I just think a lot and then write it down, and then I have friends help me get those thoughts onto YouTube. Look Back looks at why do people become artists and asks questions surrounding its two leads. Their coming together challenges both of them in beautiful ways. This starts at 19 minutes in, and by 30, they are separated. The speed of this story is beyond insane, but I would not have changed a single thing. The scene in the rain just might be the film's best, honestly. Walking to Kiyomoto's house, she had given up on art, yet walking away, something had awoken within her. So much so that she begins to skip, from skipping to running, because she has to find some way to express herself that walking could not. It's so emotional and beautiful that your heart just has to skip a beat and you begin to laugh. A few moments go by, but without even establishing it first, they are already working on that next project together. Kiyomoto on the backgrounds, Fujino on art and writing. They are now a team. A year goes by and they've already published their first one-shot. They pick up a shonen magazine to see if they've made it into the honorable mentions at least, and they had. They win a huge prize and go straight out to the town to celebrate, eating food, seeing movies, doing everything they can. It's all just stunning. And in a shot very reminiscent of Spirited Away, we get this.
I'm so glad I was able to leave my room today.
Kiyomoto went from never leaving the house to this action-packed lifestyle. Their friendship is just beautiful.
Fujino, thank you for getting me out of my room.
At the midpoint of the film, they split. It's very dramatic and the framing is quite exceptional. In 11 minutes or so, they went from meeting to now, well, yeah, separating. They finally got what they wanted, which was a serialized manga, and it's now that Kiyomoto wants to leave. Fujino does speak with quite a lot of venom in her words, and passive-aggressive is an understatement for sure, but Kiyomoto doesn't really bite into that. Fujino's words are coming from not understanding why she would want to do this. They are doing art for very different reasons. For Kiyomoto, this helps her grow as a person. Yes, college scares her to death, but like she said, she needs to be brave. Being stagnant isn't for her anymore, and college is that next step. To grow not just as an artist, but as a person. It's art that allows her to do this. Fujino says that she could be replaced with anyone and that it doesn't matter. Assistants can replace her, and it's obvious to me that she's minimalizing Kiyomoto's work to not make it seem as important, a deflection tactic. A fact that later on, when on the phone, she will later realize how large of an extent of a lie this really was.
I want to stop relying on you to see if I can do things on my own.
This quote brings us to the main takeaway from this story. I just want to be a better artist. And 3 minutes later, Kiyomoto dies. The remaining part of the story I don't think needs much commentary. It's emotional, it's a lot slower, and I was just kind of a wreck watching it. Their last on-screen conversation is Fujino's very, very harsh words to her now deceased best friend. We come back to this door motif as it represents now the separating divide of the two worlds. The real world and the one where Kiyomoto lives, where Fujino gave up on her art long ago and due to that ended up saving her life. In this hypothetical, they eventually work together again on manga, but miss out on years and years of friendship. It's a fun and sad introspective look at what is on Fujino's mind, all made harder for when she does take that large step forward through the door addressing these feelings front on, she sees even with after their split, she was still her #1 supporter, collecting her manga and writing out these Shonen Jump surveys with Kiyomoto's coat with her signature still hanging on the door. After all that, I am left with a film that I just adore. With it only being 68 minutes, it still somehow was able to leave me with this much of a lasting impact. That's just insane. Where I want to take this next is to put the magnifying glass now onto Fujimoto himself. For Fujimoto, the reactions and responses to his art are very much similar to what was seen in the film, even with his most popular manga, Chainsaw Man, with posts like the following discussing that he has dropped off since his prior works, and again, 20 chapters later, apparently, another drop off, and then, okay, you get the point. It's just something I don't understand. Are we always forever chasing our tails? Is there never a point where someone can just be happy with where they're at, with hopes to improve in their own right, to be able to enjoy just telling stories? With tweets like this, I just don't get it. How can you watch what we just watched or read it and still post this tweet? How comparing a weekly or bi-weekly manga chapter to a fully released one-shot is even close to being the same thing. All while, a major plot point of this film is that Fujino was struggling under the weight of not having an assistant that could keep up with demand. This exact struggle is what Fujimoto is going through with Chainsaw Man Part 2, and while I can't show specific examples because I don't want to spoil you guys, that's not this video, this isn't a Part 2 spoiler video, but trust me, the art that he is doing is cooking, with some of the best designs in the entire manga's run being out of recent chapters. Yet, even while he is struggling in real life, and not in some fictitious story, when his previous assistants include someone such as the mangaka from Dendadan in Yukinobu Tatsu, this entire situation just leaves me puzzled. This also comes from someone who has a hobby that includes making videos with the titles like Another DC Disaster or Watchmen, Another Pointless Adaptation. However, one thing I try to make clear is that the works of the things I don't enjoy are something I am commenting on, and hyperbolic language may be used especially in the thumbnails and titles. But there is always just one part of my brain that is just thinking, man, what if the director or the writer was sitting next to me at my desk, and some of these artists have affected my life in ways that I can't even begin to quantify. The director of one of the episodes of The Batman was tweeting the other day about his work on a specific episode. Brandon Vietti was just talking about it, and it turned out to be the one with Mr. Freeze, and I responded with how this episode alone shaped my childhood, as it had toys in this episode that I begged for as a kid and I got, and I was just so impacted as a child, and I can't imagine how reading that must have felt, while working on the show. Yet this same man who directed this also directed Watchmen, the adaptation that I criticized, where I'm very harsh on its execution to adapt the material right. I mentioned that I want him to stay on DC related works, as I think he is very pivotal to so many aspects of what I consider core to the brand overall. It's just the idea of disregarding the art or his art, anyone's art, of just treating it as a commodity, it doesn't make sense. And Look Back stares back at you and challenges this very idea. None of this is to say that art is exempt from criticism either. No, not at all. I just think there needs to come a level of nuance in the conversation.
You know, if I'm being super honest, I don't even like drawing manga. It's not fun or glamorous or anything. It's a pain in the butt. I'd be way happier reading manga.
Then why do you draw, Fujino?
Now, my response to all this as an artist hit me like a fucking brick to a window. The same way Kiki's delivery service tackles artist burnout, or just burnout in general, Look Back tackles why do you even do something like this in the first place? Revisiting Kiki to see doing a job that you love can even become a burden, and how so many artist friends or YouTubers I look up to, like hell, even Patrick H. Willems, has been struck very hard by its delivery. Kiki is such a beautiful picture. I sought out video essays on it after watching Look Back just to see so many people share similar testaments with how I came out of this, and it's just so interesting. Look Back made me reflect in ways I hadn't before. Making art or being involved in art is the only thing that really makes me happy, that makes me feel like I have a purpose. And I don't think that this is a unique feeling either. I think a lot of artists feel this way. Just without doing what I'm doing, I don't function. I say I get embarrassed or feel uneasy with how much I invest compared to what I get out, yet there is no plan B. There is no other option.
If I don't do this, I don't live. I have to do this to fucking live.
My closest friends are people who are also on the same journey as I am, yet we're all going about it slightly differently. There are moments where in my life where I just wish I could just say to people, just do X, Y, and Z and follow me, and we can just achieve our dreams. And that's the same lesson Fujimoto must learn, and it's the one I'm trying to learn as well. That on the journey to reaching that milestone or goal, the people you're making this with, it just to reflect on how special it all is. I do wonder sometimes if, without these people, would I even be able to do anything that I've created for myself? Even for a script as personal as this, my usual support in my co-writer Leon wasn't available. So I begged my friend Aiden, who was watching as I was writing, and we went over the script last night, and I needed his help. I finished the script and I just have no idea if all of this is just drivel and artists screaming at the clouds. Do you get me now, people? The final montage of the film is just the two leads just being in each other's space, creating. The colors are so vibrant and bright, it's so picturesque. As this Letterboxd review puts it, its long sequences of drawing are something truly beautiful rather than something mundane or tedious. Then bam, we are back in reality, to the now. Fujimoto is lit with large, very harsh shadows and cold colors. It's so very dark and bleak. In the final shot of the film, we are back at her desk as she has her reason for drawing, her little reminder of what this is all for. Earlier, I said that the girls very much felt like two sides to Fujimoto put on the screen. When taking their names and splitting them and putting them back together, they actually recreate his name, and I think that is pretty cool. I loved Look Back so much, and the same way Inside from years ago was a wake-up call to many artists during lockdowns, I think this does the same thing to a much greater effect, without the need for a pandemic to jumpstart those emotions. Look Back challenges the meaning and the reasoning of being an artist. Why do you do it? What is the pain you are willing to go through? One of the best things a piece of art can do is to inspire others to, quote-unquote, pick up the pen again. Now, it doesn't literally have to be drawing, but the imagery works quite well, and the response to Look Back has been one that can only be compared to a wildfire, with artists around the world being the ones to be set alight. Look Back's ending is one that gives hope. Hope in that even in the times of real emotional turmoil, you'll be okay. To not look back in anger, to cherish the time you have, especially with those close, and to continue to express yourself with whatever tools or means you know how. To my patrons, Nick in the top mate tier, Colin and CJ in the great mate tier, and Jadu Sable in the good mate tier, thank you for your support. To those who stuck by this long and this far in, thank you and goodbye.